This is the Global News Update on Tabakale News. The headlines: Myanmar military set December 28 for general election. Bolivia votes for change amid soaring inflation. Germany urges US to slash car tariffs. Zelenskyy meets Trump in Washington. We start today with the focus in politics. Myanmar military sets December 28 for general election. Myanmar's military government has announced that the country will begin a phased general election on December 28, the first since the 2021 coup. The vote, widely condemned as a sham designed to entrench the junta's power, will exclude the National League for Democracy and face logistical hurdles in areas controlled by opposition groups amid ongoing civil conflict. While China has voiced support for the election, critics including the UN and Human Rights Watch want that the polls lack credibility and call on the international community to reject the process, highlighting ongoing violence, economic collapse, and humanitarian crisis across the country. Still in politics, Bolivia votes for change amid soaring inflation. Centrist Senator Rodrigo Paz of the Christian Democratic Party is leading Bolivia's presidential election according to early results, signaling the potential historic defeat of the ruling movement for socialism, whose candidate Eduardo del Castillo trails far behind. Conservative former President George Quiroga secured second place, setting up a likely runoff on October 19th, while Paz hailed the vote as a call for political transformation. Voters across, driven by soaring inflation, economic hardship, and frustration with Ma's rule, as Paz promises decentralization and economic reforms, and Quiroga calls for radical public spending cuts. Despite former President Evo Morales' boycott campaign, voters' turnout remained steady, and international observers reported no major disruptions. Shifting focus to economy. Germany urges US to slash car tariffs. Germany has called on the United States to implement previously agreed cuts on tariff for Europe-made cars before a wider transatlantic trade deal can be finalized. A German government spokesperson emphasized the urgency, noting that the heavy burden high tariff placed on the export-oriented European economy and pledging full support for the European Commission in negotiations. The European Union and US reached a framework trade agreement in late July, but key details including tariff reductions remain unresolved, with officials stressing swift action is needed to solidify the trade. Moving to international relations, Zelenskyy meets Trump in Washington. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy has arrived in Washington for talks with US President Donald Trump and European leaders aimed at ending the war with Russia, as Trump declared that reclaiming Crimea adjoining NATO are off the table for Ukraine. The summit follows a weekend meeting between Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, which produced promises of security guarantees for Ukraine, but no ceasefire breakthrough. Zelenskyy, joined by other European leaders, is set to discuss Moscow partial concessions and potential agreement for a frozen front line amid continued Russian attacks and growing European concerns that pressure could be applied on Ukraine to accept Russian territorial demands. You're watching the Global News Update on Tabakale News. Do stay with us. Still to come. Thanks for staying with us. Still in international relations, South Korea pledges non-hostility towards North. South Korea's Unification Ministry has reaffirmed President Lee Jae-myung's commitment to non-hostility and coexistence with North Korea, ruling out unification by absorption and pledging effort to restore trust between the two Koreas. Spokesperson Ko Byung-sam highlighted three pillars of Lee's approach: respecting North Korea's political system, avoiding absorption-style unification, and eschewing hostility. The administration aims to ease tension on the peninsula and revive the 2018 Inter-Korea military deal, though North Korea has so far rejected souls over truths. In conflicts, Palestinians flee Gaza City. As fears of an Israeli ground offensive grow, many Palestinian families are leaving eastern Gaza City for safer areas in the south and west amid relentless Israeli bombardment. Israel has already seized 75% of Gaza and warned that expanding operations could endanger hostages and trigger prolonged urban warfare. Diplomatic efforts are intensifying, with Egyptian and Qatari mediators pressing Hamas to agree to a U.S. proposed 60-day truce and partial release of hostages, though gaps remain over ceasefire terms and humanitarian aid. Meanwhile, Gaza faces a mounting humanitarian crisis with over 1.35 million people in urgent need of shelter and reports of starvation-related death rising amid severe shortages of tents and basic supplies. Turning to entertainment. Cambridge Dictionary adds viral slang and internet culture terms. The Cambridge Dictionary is added over 6,000 new words this year, including viral slang popularized on social media such as skibidi and trad wife. Skibidi, from a surreal YouTube video series, can mean cool, bad, or simply serve as a humorous expression, while trad wife refers to a married mother embracing traditional domestic roles. Other additions reflect digital culture and remote work trends, including Delulu for delusional thinking, mouse jigger for software stimulating activity on a computer, and workplace terms like work wife. Cambridge's lexical team says these words were selected for their potential staying power, highlighting how the internet continues to shape the evolution of English. Now in sports, Oscar Piastri to have grandstand named after him at Australian Grand Prix. Formula One leader Oscar Piastri will be honoured with the grandstand in his name at next year's Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne, potentially welcoming the McLaren driver home as world champion. The 24-year-old, who has yet to podium at Albert Park in 3 attempts, lead teammate Lando Norris by 9 points after 14 of 24 rounds and has already notched 6 wins and 3 second-place finishes this season, more than any Australian in a single year since the championship began in 1950. That concludes our global news update for today. Stay tuned for more global news and developments. Thanks for joining us. I am Ojorome Okocha. Connect and engage with us on all our social media handles. Do have a wonderful day.